Hello, everyone, and very warm welcome to our channel. Today, I have a pleasure to have an interview with Akashita Sareen, who is currently in the process with McKinsey. And I want to share, and Akashita wants to share some of the insights with you. So, very warm welcome. Akashita, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Andre. Thank you for asking.
All right, perfect. Akashita, can you maybe tell everyone a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, sure. I am currently in the process of interviewing with McKinsey for an analyst position. And my background is in engineering. I have a bachelor's in aerospace engineering and a master's in engineering management. And up until just the last few months, I've been working with FedEx as an industrial engineer. And I'm here now working with consulting masters to train myself to get through the McKinsey process.
Yeah, which office are you applying to?
The San Francisco office.
Oh, okay, very nice. Okay, West Coast. Good. So, Akashita, why did you actually decide to go for consulting generally?
Um, that's a great question. So I was working as an industrial engineer, like I mentioned, and I felt like I'd reached a point in my career where I needed a change, and I felt like I was ready for a new experience, a new location, a new career. And so I was just, searching for jobs, and I came across, this new job posting on McKinsey where I felt like my background really fit with the job description. They were looking for somebody with experience in industrial engineering. And that's how I came across McKinsey. And then as I researched about the company and the work they do, I was extremely motivated by, their work. And I really wanted to give my 100% in preparing for the interview and getting a job there.
All right, perfect. Why did you actually started looking for career coaching and for supporting your preparation?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I don't have a business background. I come from a very, very strict engineering focused background. And I've learned that the getting a job in a consulting firm requires a lot of preparation especially with the case interview process. And I really did not know anything about it. Even when I was speaking to the recruiter at McKinsey and she mentioned the case interview, I was still very clueless over the phone about it with her. So that got me a little worried. As I was searching about how to prepare and all that, I came across Consulting Masters, and I really felt like I needed some extra help to get through the process because it really is not that easy. It really requires a different switch in your brain. It really requires you to think a little differently, especially if you come from, like, let's say engineering in my case. So I felt like I really needed that mentorship to think differently to solve the case. So yeah, that's what brought me to coaching.
All right, perfect. And why did you decide to start working with me and the team?
um, it's weird because I was just like how I'm giving a testimonial right now. Actually, I was looking for a good coaching sort of institute or firm, and I also saw a lot of testimonials from other individuals who've spoken really highly of the work that you've done with them. And I also was able to see, the experiences that you and your fellow coaches have had in the past. Your experiences are very varied and very diverse in consulting itself. So that really stood out for me. And also when I started speaking to your staff, with Alessia and everybody, and they were extremely friendly and were really good at communicating the whole process to me and made me feel very supported. So um, that's why I wanted to continue, and also start working with you in the first place.
Thank you. I highly appreciate this, and I will also pass kind words further to the team. But can you actually maybe remember yourself when we just started working? How would you rank yourself? Like, what was your level at that point of time, and what precisely we have done together?
Sure. I think that I actually do remember when I just started, coaching, especially for case interviews. Um, I literally knew nothing. I think if obviously on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give myself a 1. Uh, maybe like a 0 also. It's off scale too. But yeah, I literally started from the bottom, and a lot of the issues that I was having was that I just couldn't understand, why are we doing this to get a job at a consulting firm? Why is this necessary? So, I had no background whatsoever. So that was my sort of first day and first time speaking to, a coach at Consulting Masters, and that's what my experience was the first time. And I remember I was also very low in confidence, because I think that was stemming from the fact that, especially when you start something new, you have low confidence anyway. And I think that was the same with me as well. And so my confidence was really low, and that was just making my issue worse. So yeah, it was like low confidence, very poor understanding of the case interview process. And that was my first day. And then as I progressed through the sessions, I think I've taken about 10 sessions or so with you. um, I remember like I had my first interview with McKinsey already. And I remember just nailing the interview. Like, I was so happy. Like, I was so proud of myself, because I remember how bad I was. And with a lot of practice, and with a lot of, like I mentioned before, switching your mind in the way that you're thinking, um, I was able to accomplish a really good interview. And I still remember the feedback I received was extremely positive.
We'll talk about it
Sure, sure.
shortly
Sorry about that.
in more details because
Yeah.
actually I just wanted to remember together with you what was your starting point, because I experienced yourself, if I may talk about it openly, as yeah, completely actually lost person in terms of like no clarity in terms of the preparation, in terms of how this process looked like, and very, very unsharp, very unfocused. And I think what was extremely unhelpful in your case for you was the issue about unconfidence. And you were so underconfident that I think that one of the first things that I really wanted to fix with you was the issue about the confidence, and that you really start enjoying the whole process. But if you are describing the whole process of the preparation, what were the things that you learned specifically, and how did it help you? What was probably the tipping point when you truly understood, okay, now I got it. Now I can do it.
Um, I think it was like maybe like the last session that I had with you before I went into my actual interview. So I'm to have like 2 rounds, and I had the first round, and before that I had one session with you. And at that point, I feel like I'd practiced enough cases. And at that point I felt like, okay, I'm good with cases. But then again, for me, it was still the confidence part. So at that point, it was just, just me and myself, just trying to get over, myself and be more confident. So that really was the tipping point, where I wasn't scared about the preparation anymore. It was mostly just, okay, well, I know I can do it, and I just have to go and do it. In terms of what I've learned so much about just, thinking most, in a more structured way. I feel like a lot of those learnings, like even now when I'm talking to somebody else or I'm discussing something else, I try to think about it the same way, which is really weird, because maybe it's coming from all that practice. So I guess it's a good thing. But just thinking about things in a very structured way. And then, of course, the whole case interview process itself, working at a consulting firm itself, the consulting knowledge, and like the way that they handle business cases and working with clients and all that. And a lot of that information knowledge I got from you as well. Just to a bit into the job preparation as well. So, I mean, I can list 10 other things, but I think these were primarily the most important for sure.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and now is my favorite part. What were the outcomes? Because you've already started talking about your first interview round, and the fantastic feedback that you have received. Um,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was
can you
so
maybe
excited about that. I jumped ahead. So I'm sorry. But yeah, so I had my first interview with McKinsey, and what's really cool is that the case that I was given to solve was actually, something really similar I'd done with, while I was coaching with you during the session. So, it wasn't, of course, it wasn't the same, but it was so similar. At least the thinking process and like the information was so similar that I felt like, okay, well, I've practiced so much. I've come across such a case before, and it was just a breeze. So, I mean, of course, it was different, and the math was different, and the logic was different. And of course, they were looking for different reasonings. Um, but it didn't feel like I was getting hit by a rock or something. It was extremely comfortable, especially the case part. Beyond that, I think where I was really able to set myself apart and really sort of jump the fence and take the ball in my court was just to be like, just to form that rapport with the interviewer, where I was able to enjoy solving the case with him, and it was over the phone, so it wasn't face to face, so it was just my voice. So, and that's something that I'd also practiced with Andre before, where before I'd speak really low because I wasn't really sure of what I was saying in the case interview process. So, but with practice, I was like, okay, yeah, now I know what I'm saying and I know what I'm doing. So I guess that confidence in my voice was very evident as well. And I was able to form that rapport with him, and then it was just a breeze. Like, it was more of a conversation about the business problem, and of course the math was excellent too, and then everything was just a full enjoyable process to solve the business case. And we got really creative also, so that gave me the leverage to be really creative in the way that I was giving recommendations, and that's something that they pointed out in my feedback as well, that yeah, so that's basically the outcome of the first round.
Yeah,
So
what kind of feedback have you received from McKinsey for your first round?
yeah, so this interviewer actually gave some feedback to the recruiter, and so I was given feedback on every single part of the case. So from the structure to the quantitative part, and lastly the recommendation of the synthesis. So I remember working with Andre, like I was extremely worried and sort of paranoid about my structure, because I was like, they're so, especially McKinsey, they keep their standards so high. So I want to make sure that I'm very comprehensive. I'm totally messy. I'm not missing anything. I'm covering everything. So I remember, like, maybe 1 hour. I've just spent 1 hour sessions just doing structures. So
Yeah, I can still remember very well on that.
yeah, I pretty much covered everything in my structure. Like, I feel like I'm talking a lot about myself. It's really odd, but just so that this helps everybody and they get the help that they need. But yeah, so in the structure, like what they were looking for, in terms of what I was thinking about the problem, they received from me. So they really were happy about the structure. And then the quantitative part, I think I fell off the quantitative part a bit. Like, I remember I wanted to make sure that I was talking about my math logic before I was actually doing it. And that gave him the opportunity. And also the sort of rapport that I created with him gave him the opportunity to sort of tell me that, okay, no, nudge me sort of in the right way. And then I was able to get back on track and actually solve it quickly. So that's one thing that they'd mentioned, but I really don't think that overall it was too much of a negative point. And lastly, I think it mentioned that they were really happy with the synthesis, and especially that I knew why that was important, because my synthesis was very applicable to a real world business problem. So I think that was really, important for them to hear in my case interview.
Yeah, I was so happy when you forwarded me the email with the feedback from McKinsey. That was really amazing. Such a great feedback. My congratulations to you. And Akashita, now you have a chance. Imagine you could talk to yourself a few months back. So you are now talking to yourself and many, many other candidates who are currently preparing for McKinsey or other leading consulting firms. Now, given how uncertain you were in the past and how others might be uncertain or might facing whatever the difficulties are, what have been your lessons learned and what would you recommend to yourself from the past and to others, what to pay attention to and how to nail it down what have been your learnings so far?
Sure. There've been so many in my case, but I'll try to keep it maybe just to a few. So I think number one is that um, it's really important to, like, when you're entering a new field altogether, and you really want that position. Like, I really wanted, this San Francisco McKinsey office, this role and the work that they were doing. So you have to, invest in yourself and, believe that this will, you'll put in the hard work, even more, that you'll get the correct results. So the number one thing is definitely to have some faith. Have some faith that, not only in yourself, but also in the coaches that you're working with, that they're going to give you pretty good advice, and give you a different perspective from what you have. So, and that's really important because they're looking at you very objectively, and you'll judge yourself very subjectively. So, number one is that, to have a lot of faith in the work that you're doing and also in your coaches. Um, Number three is actually do the work. Like, I think a lot of the times I felt like in my preparation, when I was only, coming to the sessions and wasn't going back and doing any homework, or, practicing cases or reading cases on my own from the material that I had been given by consulting masters. Like, when I was just, doing outward work instead of inward work, I guess I don't know if that's a better way to put it, but it really did not work. So you have to go back into your homework. You have to review the mistakes you've made after every case interview you've read or practiced with a friend, or with your coach. So make sure that you're correcting your mistakes as well. And these are the main two things. This is what really stood out for me, and I think most of the times these are like the core issues that a lot of other candidates face as well, especially when you're coming in new and they don't really know, where to start. So yeah, have faith and make sure that you're very diligent and hardworking about the homework and the work that you're doing yourself. So yeah. That's
All
all.
right. Amazing. Akashita, and maybe one more small thing. Imagine I'm your friend, and I'm thinking about consulting, but I'm not sure whether I'm good enough, whether I can make it, or how to prepare, or I have just so many doubts, or can I do it on my own, or do I need the help of the coach, or can the coach really help me? Is it really feasible to get into McKinsey and all those names? What would you say to me to help me to cope with my doubts?
Sure. So I actually remember having a lot of those doubts as well. But I think um, I guess this is the advice that I would give, that those are normal doubts to have. Um, and the best part about working with a coach, especially for the situation where you're deciding whether, consulting is for you and how it will turn out for you, um, the coach will also be able to guide you through that process about what consulting is and how suitable it is for you. And secondly, about consulting itself, I think it's such a unique industry. I think one of the reasons why I took major steps to, sort of get into it was because it was so different from all the work that I was doing. And especially with consulting, you work with so many different companies, so many different leaders, and you get such a massive exposure in such a short amount of time that it's really priceless. That whole experience to forward your career is priceless. So if you're having those doubts, just get a consulting, session with the any with consulting masters, and then they'll be able to clear your doubts that way. And moving forward, you'll definitely receive that support in your preparation to actually nail a consulting interview. And that's the thing about consulting interview, which I didn't know, is that I kept reading online when I was researching about it, that it's so competitive. There are students from extremely from only the top 10 universities in the world will get selected, or they're very picky about the people that they get. But um, my story is that I'm not from a really fancy school. I remember making my resume really well, and preparing really well. And I prepared using coaches. So anything's possible, I suppose. That's what I'll say. So don't let those things that you're not from a good university or the process is really competitive hold you back, because they're very fair in judging as well. They want to see how you are as a person. And if you present yourself well, and this is also information or knowledge that I've received from, the coaches I worked with at Consulting Masters, like how to present yourself in the interview, what to say, and what to look out for, like what are they really looking for? And that's just gold information. So, and you'll only receive that when you're speaking with an experienced coach. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm sorry, I went blabbering too long.
Yeah, thank you, Akashita. I bought it. I am convinced I should try. Even though my personal story, I'm also not from the target business school. I completed my studies in Ukraine in the very unknown university, and then I got a job in Germany. So as you see, it just proves that people from non-targeted schools or from non-targeted profiles also have a chance. But of course, the competition is pretty high, so don't leave it to a chance, but pick the initiative into your own hands. Well, Akashita, I want to really thank you so much. I'm so proud about you. I mean, it's so far it has been a tremendous development which I have seen from your side, from a very very unconfident, underconfident girl who came to me in the very first session to where you are at the moment. I keep my fingers crossed for you, and the whole team does it, and everyone watches this video. And I really want to thank you for sharing your experience and wish you best luck in your upcoming interviews. Fingers crossed to let it work out. And thanks everyone for watching. Feel also to subscribe to our channel to get even more suitable information about consulting. And stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. Hit the like button and see you then. Cheers.
One of the reasons people
if you don't mind, you can basically just repeat what you have said.
No, I was just saying that it's a little weird, but like, a lot of the times, like, coaching can seem a little expensive for, some people, but really the returns, like I mentioned, like if you just work towards it and, place yourself apart, then it's really not, like I had such a huge block in my head that it's not possible, and it all turned out pretty well actually. So yeah, I really hope that other people join it as well, for sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Akashita. That's very kind of you. And thanks also for your help and the interview in this video.
Sure.